Hi, I thought I'd give you a little insight as to what I've been working on, and that will give you some idea of how far I've gotten with this project of making maps and so on. What you're seeing on my screen right now is an open source program called GeoServer. It's a server with a web browser interface, but this is all on my computer right now. These are some maps I've been making and I have put on the server. The two that I'd like you to note is the Troll, because I'm working on the Troll Peninsula. This is the this is the slope shading, or what I should say is hill shading. And this is the color shading of the angle. And just to give you an idea, if I go here and click the open layer, what you'll see is the hill shading layer pop up, and a URL up here, which is says localhost, and localhost means it's all being done internally in my computer. If I replace localhost with the IP address of my server, this can be accessed through the internet, and that is the next phase. So I'll just also open up the color and give you an idea. This is just the angle shading. Now, so I've been working with GeoServer on my computer, but I've also been testing cloud servers, and there's one GIS Cloud, which works quite nicely. I still need to price it out. It seems a little expensive to me, but I have a trial period, and I put the topo map, a section of the Troll Peninsula as a topo map, into Caltopo. So right now I'm in Caltopo, and what you'll see here is GIS Cloud Troll, which is I'm pulling this map from that server. And you'll see as I scroll this map, all of a sudden the part that's not that I didn't upload of the Troll, you'll see is just blank, and you'll see that I'm bringing in just one section of the Troll Peninsula here into Caltopo. What I can do now is pull in the slope shading, and you'll notice I pulled in all the slope shading. I have much more space on my machine than I do on this free version of the GIS server, and the hill shading. And you'll see that those areas take on the entire Troll Peninsula, and they cover over everything. But you'll notice over here I can deal with their opacity. And when I deal with their opacity, I can create sort of this layered, it'll take just a minute for all this to come into view, this layered map. Apparently my internet's slowing down. There it is. And it comes in quite nicely. And now I'll work in a smaller scale so you can see how the opacity can work. So however I decide to balance out slope shading versus and if I, for instance, didn't need the slope shading, I could just cut it out, and now I have just the hill shade with the topography, or just the topography. So that gives you an idea of what it looks like how I put this all in, and I've put them in ahead of time, is that URL that I talked about that said localhost. I changed that to an IP address that gets to my server. I put it in this auto configure URL, hit go. I have to click onto which maps I wanted, because you saw the whole list of maps I had. That puts that particular thing in to Caltopo. I click save, and off it goes. Interesting. I get a GoFundMe email while I'm trying to figure out how to get this done. Anyway, that creates these layers. So it's in here at custom source that I do this in. Okay, and this is where I place all that. Now, once I've told Caltopo where to get my custom source, it brings the map in, and now I am able to use the user interface of Caltopo to get any number of things done. Now, one little glitch is, if you notice, I have a base map here called TF Outdoors. So if I were to shut everything off, it's this very basic map on Caltopo. To do the next thing, I need a Caltopo base map. So I'm going to put all the shading in. And put it kind of the way I like it, depending on what your parameters are. And if I'd like, I can take this now and I can make a KMZ file. And so this is one of the user interfaces that I can use now within Caltopo. What I'm going to do is just bring it to over here just a little bit and download a KMZ file. Now, what the KMZ file does is it allows me to put whatever section of the map that I've denoted there onto. I tested this earlier, so I already had a file called that in that folder. But this will allow me to overlay that onto Google Earth. The next thing I can do is, and I'm doing these in really small scale. You can do it in much bigger scale if you'd like, depending on how you want to run things. I can also generate a PDF. Other things I can do is I can also add a line. Just go up this ridge here. And this will now give me a profile of the line, distance, elevation at different points. So distance at different points, the range from the lowest point to the highest point, the total amount of elevation gain and loss. So this can help you do your route plans. I can print it with that line. I can do any number of things. Essentially, I can do all the same things that you can do with Caltopo. So at this point, that KMZ file has, so I'll just click the KMZ file. So that had downloaded while I was playing with the lines. And you can see as soon as I click the KMZ file, that now goes into Google Earth. and I can manipulate Google Earth into virtual 3D and manipulate the opacity of the map in Google Earth. So this map, this topo map, I got the data from the Iceland Geographic Service, similar to the USGS. Geolocated it. They were geotiffs, but they were in two separate, they had extracted the geolocation, so I had to join that together in a program called QGIS. I got the digital elevation model from the same source, and that allowed me to create the slope angle shading as well as the hill shading. And once I did that, I put those layers onto the server, told Caltopo how to get to the server and which layers I wanted. And now you can see I can take those layers and manipulate them as I want on Caltopo. What you'll notice is when I go to that custom map source, if you like, you can save it to your account. So that way, these map layers can be pulled up at any time. And you can then manipulate them. They will be in your list here. As you can see, I have a number of things I've been playing with. I've been doing a Patagonia map, and you can see what that looks like. This one I had to build more from scratch. Oop. Well, close enough. And so you can see this is a Patagonia map, and Fitzroy in that area. I have a base map of TF Outdoors. This is probably the best map you could get back before I made this one. You can see I sort of brightened up the contour lines and really put the trails in a little differently. And I've been doing the same thing in Japan and Hokkaido. But this map right now is getting pulled off of a server. And it's only for the area around Fitzroy and Serratori and that. You can see as I pull out, the map edges kind of come into play, and you can see there's nothing off the edge. It's not, I didn't map the entire world at that detail. And but if I move to the TF Outdoors, you can see what was available and now what was going on. So by creating maps and putting them on a server, I can give people a URL and they can get it into Caltopo and use Caltopo to draw lines and customize their maps using the user interface. I also believe that similar to the way you get the Google layer into Gaia for use, that was described in the AMGA Winter Bulletin by Mark Smiley, these URLs can also work with Gaia. I haven't tested that yet. I haven't gotten that far. So what I need now is to create a cloud server where I can store the maps and they can be accessible. because if I'm using my laptop, whenever my laptop is turned off or runs out of power or while I'm traveling, these maps won't be available to you on Caltopo. Caltopo only pulls them off the server as you need them. So the server needs to be, 24/7, 365 for it to be stable, for you to use when you need to. So that'll give you an idea of what I've been working on and how this works, some of the maps I've been making, and what the quality is, and what kind of a resource this might be. If you have any knowledge about developing a server or are interested in this project and want to help me, let me know. Thanks.